Alec Lasley's joining us. Indiana takes on a Nebraska team tomorrow to open up Big Ten play. Normally that would be perfect, exactly what you want. Nebraska, though, coming in off of a hard-fought 100-104 loss, four overtime loss at North Carolina State a couple of nights ago in the ACC Big Ten Challenge. So they're either going to be tired, Alec, or they're ready to fight because they showed fight and moxie on the road.
Yeah, I think it'll be a little bit of both. I mean, they've had some tough injuries so far in the early parts of the season too, some tough losses. But I think this is probably Fred Hoiberg's best Nebraska team since he's been there, at least most talented one. Looking at the backcourt there, he's brought in a lot of transfers that really kind of fit what he's trying to do. A lot of what he did at Iowa State before he left. But yeah, I mean, they get up and down the floor. They like to take a lot of shots. They like to score the ball. They like to play a lot in transition. We'll see what those legs are like, especially after kind of playing a much shorter bench than they really anticipated against NC State, and then obviously, like you said, going 4 overtimes. So we'll see how much action they can actually provide for a full 40 minutes. It'll be interesting, especially the first kind of 10 minutes of that game. I think we'll learn a lot about how the rest of that game is going to go, especially being on the road again. So I think Nebraska is going to come out a little flat, but if they can make their shots, it'll be a whole different ball game. Just something they haven't been able to do so far this season.
Well, speaking of making their shots, Indiana has been doing that. They did a very good job of that at Syracuse. They shot 40% from 3-point, and that's on 27 attempts. I need to get the record book out here, and I don't know, that wouldn't be in there probably, but I'd sure like to know the last time Indiana shot 47 or 40% on 25 attempts or more. That has to be years ago, and so people are wondering, is the shooting really okay? It's continued to improve, to be honest with you. The numbers have gone up on the 3-point shooting, and 2-point shooting has been fine. They've outshot everyone they played. They outshot Syracuse, but they turned the damn ball over 26 times, and they gave up 33 points off of those turnovers. That was the critical killer. 13 of those turnovers came from Race and Trace. They had 7 turnovers for Trace Jackson Davis. Those 13 turnovers alone, I mean, you could say there's your ball game right there.
Oh yeah, and even the first 10 minutes, you had 13 turnovers in the first 10 minutes of the game, and that's when they obviously saw that huge deficit. So I think if you take those first 10 minutes out of the game and you replay those, one, I don't think it goes into overtime at all. I think Indiana wins this one. Not easily, but definitely a lot easier than kind of what the game ended up being. But yeah, I mean, turning the ball over is the biggest thing that's holding Indiana back right now. Trace and Race haven't had too difficult of a time turning the ball over. Obviously to those numbers throughout this season. I think the zone obviously played a lot into that. Race really struggled kind of in that short corner area, trying to read where either the skip pass was or if he was trying to go high-low or anything like that. So I think when it's more man-to-man, they're going to be a lot better and a lot more comfortable, and they have been up to this point. So we'll see what that was like. But yeah, I mean, if you take those two away, it wasn't like the entire team struggled with the ball. I mean, no other person had more than 3 turnovers. The guards themselves, for the most part, did a fine job. Obviously, there were some careless turnovers at timely possessions, and I think that's now the thing that you look to for Indiana and these guards, where you're really trying, if you're going to turn the ball over, one, you has to be a dead ball turnover. You can't allow the other team to go back in transition, which they did a few times against Syracuse as well. But you also can't have them, within 4 minutes, I would say, of either half. I mean, those are the two kind of most important segments of both halves, and Indiana struggled to do that multiple times down the stretch in the first half, and then in the second half against Syracuse. So that's the biggest thing. We'll see what this guard rotation continues to look like. I think it's going to be a work in progress throughout the entire season still. What you have in Xavier Johnson, and now you just kind of have to figure out what kind of rotation you're going to get from Rob Finney and Christian Lander on a game-to-game basis.
Yeah, having Xavier Johnson foul out the other night with just 4 points. That was a killer, especially down the stretch. They could have really used him. You also had Rob Fennessy foul out in just 14 minutes. That's not good. So you end up with Christian Lander down the stretch, and they could have used a veteran in there. There was a couple of times, as a matter of fact, Indiana could have still won that game, not getting a shot off at the end of the one overtime, not getting the ball inside on the other. So, but it is what it is, and hopefully they learn from that. Big Ten play, most important, but that loss is probably that could hurt them then into the year. I don't know that they're going to be that close. I think that they're going to be a team that's in. They're not going to be a border team, so I don't think it's really going to matter. But now you got to start Big Ten play, kind of, and then get back out of it. But I think that Indiana being at home crowd, I just don't see a Nebraska coming off of that loss on the road. That's kind of disappointing, and I don't see Indiana having any problem, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing everyone talked about after losses in Archie Miller's tenure, how they were not able to bounce back and how one loss turned into three quite easily. So I think that's the biggest thing. This is obviously Mike Woodson's first loss. Let's see how he kind of gets the team back into the groove of things. I am glad that it's against a Big Ten opponent, so we can see kind of right away what this Indiana team is going to be like, because regardless of the record, regardless of what Nebraska has been over the past 3-4 seasons, they still have a lot of really good talent on that roster. So Indiana's going to have to be ready to play from the tip, regardless of kind of what that record is, and being able to see kind of how they react to their first loss. We've heard Trace say how different this team is, the mindset, the mentality. We saw a little bit of that, obviously, against Syracuse, the ability to come back. Now let's see how they bounce back after a loss, and how they kind of move forward into the couple of Big Ten games that they have. And then obviously going back to non-conference, and then getting back into the full swing of things for conference play in January. I think that's the biggest storyline. A lot of people are kind of ready to see here.